Hi, it's Dwyer. Second video of the day. June the 21st, 2017. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. I made a video talking about Andre Ward in the heavyweight division. Right? I mentioned that I myself would be hesitant to take Ward over Joshua, especially if Joshua looks good against Vladimir Klitschko in a rematch. Right? But that I would take Ward over Deontay Wilder. Now, some longtime subscribers who I deeply appreciate, and I thank you for taking a look at my videos, have ripped me a little bit on this one. Right? Giselle X wrote, "I like Team Ward, but I think that Virgil Hunter, Andre Ward's trainer, lost his mind with this AJ nonsense." Right? B. Riser wrote, "I wouldn't take Ward over any top heavyweight. Way too small." Right? Beast Mode 32 wrote, "Giselle X, I said that too. Ward has a family. Why would you," I'm guessing he means me, "suggest some suicidal stuff like that to him?" Right? Well, let me just say, you know, boxing fans need to have longer memories, don't we? You have guys who are still alive today, who have ventured into the heavyweight division and have had some success. Right? We don't have to go back to middleweight champion Stanley Ketchel knocking down a great heavyweight, Jack Johnson, in a bout. Right? Johnson gets up, closes the show, okay. But understand, that's Johnson knocked down. I understand there's folklore about the fight and stuff like that. You, the viewer, can sort through the folklore and figure out what's real and what's not. But here's what we know is real. Right? Michael Spinks was a light heavyweight champion, light heavy, just like Andre Ward. He not only goes up to heavy, beats Larry Holmes twice. He sticks around. Right? Sticks around the division. Fights Jerry Cooney. You remember Jerry? Destroyed Kenny Norton. Right? Jerry was supposed to have a huge punch. Right? Spinks wins that fight by KO. To the boxing media, please find him. Interview him. Bring him to the attention of the public. Understand, in Andre Ward's own lifetime, this has been done. Right? Roy Jones. Well, think about it. James Toney started at middleweight, didn't he? Middleweight. Did you know that James Toney won the heavyweight championship? He gets stripped, right? PED, whatever. But understand, James Toney was up at heavyweight, competing against people like Fres Oquendo. Wasn't Oquendo supposed to fight Shannon Briggs for the title? That's today, folks. That's today. Understand, James Toney already fought Oquendo at heavy. And this is a guy who started at middleweight. Here again, the boxing press needs to find James Toney and needs to interview him, push him front and center. Have the boxing public understand that when a light heavyweight says, look, I'm thinking about venturing into the heavyweight division, folks, it's been done. It's been done successfully. So, I mean, I understand. These heavyweights look really big today. Oh my goodness. You know, have there ever been big heavyweights like this in history? Of course there has been. Look up Primo Carnera. Look him up. You're going to find out that Primo Carnera lost to Jack Sharkey, who weighed almost 60 pounds less than him. Folks, this is in the public record. Right? One of the things I've learned is that things move in cycles. Right? You'll have a big guy, George Foreman, heavyweight champion. Right? And then you'll reach a different phase where the big guy suddenly cannot hang with the speed, elusiveness, ability to get underneath of a guy like Mike Tyson. Right? Then over time, right, the smaller guys, the Marcianos, the Joe Frazers, the Mike Tysons, will eventually fall prey to bigger heavyweights, right? Who, you know, at least in the short term, look to be too big and strong for them, right? It's a cycle. It just keeps going on and on. Just because a guy is a light heavy doesn't mean the guy can't gain weight and suddenly have runs at heavyweight. How could Evander Holyfield still be alive today? And yet people are questioning whether a guy who starts out outside of the heavyweight division can actually venture into the heavyweight division and do damage. Folks, David Haye is still alive. Right? And so, all I'm saying, somebody please research Tomas Adamek's record. Right? I believe he was at light heavy, went up to the heavyweight division, had a bunch of success. Right? So, please, don't get too caught up in the now. I understand these guys look big, bad, invincible. Right? People will look at a Vladimir Klitschko, they'll look at an Anthony Joshua, they'll look at a Tyson Fury, and they'll say, wow, how could a guy beat these big men? We felt the same way in the 1980s when Mike Tyson came along and knocked them over like a bowling ball knocking down pins. Right? Don't have myopia. Don't fall for illusions. Right? I'm just telling you, in boxing history, if a big man can't move with a little man, if a little man has better boxing skills than the big man, if the big man who's looking great on film, knocking people out from distance, doesn't know how to handle himself when an opponent gets underneath him up close, that big man is going to have problems. Let me tip you off on something else too. A lot of the guys in history, a lot of them who we feel are big bad heavyweights, didn't weigh that much for big fights in their careers. I want to encourage everyone to go back and look at the weights of Joe Frazier and Ali for their first match. One of the biggest fights in heavyweight history. Right? And so, you know, look at Mike Tyson today. Right? He wouldn't look that big compared to some of these big heavyweights. I'm just telling you, prime Mike Tyson beats a lot of the big heavyweights today. Right? If not all of them. So, I know what I say here online sounds crazy. But if you remember Michael Spinks, if you remember James Toney, if you remember Roy Jones, if you remember Evander Holyfield, folks, what I'm saying is not even that novel. It's been done. Right? Let me close by just saying I'm surprised too how much stock people are putting in some of the current heavyweights. Right? Anthony Joshua has gone 12 rounds. Never. Right? Never. His last fight, he was on the canvas. Right? Now, I understand. People are going to say, oh my goodness, you know, Anthony Joshua, he's so big, he's so bad. Right? I can tell you, I remember when the first, in fact, the only Ali Foreman fight took place. I'm telling you, there were people who were seriously concerned about whether Ali would survive the match. Right? Fighters always look invincible. Right? Fighters always look like they're a new paradigm. We're always caught up in the moment and we say, gee, who could possibly beat prime Mike Tyson? right? You know, and then along comes a Buster Douglas. Why? Because boxing is really not linear. It's rock, paper, scissors. Styles make fights. Sometimes the smaller guy's gonna win. Sometimes the bigger guy's gonna win. Sometimes the faster guy's gonna win. Sometimes the slower guy's gonna win. It all depends on the sizes. So please, don't tell me in this day and age where people are actually talking about a heavyweight fight between Freza Kendo and Shannon Briggs, right? Neither guy, I believe, is in their 30s, right? Please don't tell me that the heavyweight division is so talented. It's so far beyond anything else that a superstar light heavyweight might not be able to jump up to heavy and make some problems for some people. Let me point out, too, the way Adonis Stevenson punches, right? Adonis Stevenson at heavyweight, and he moves, he has foot speed. Adonis Stevenson at heavyweight would take out some of these heavyweights. If he were to fight Shannon Briggs, and if he could get out of the second round, right? Shannon Briggs, very early in fights, is very dangerous. But again, he's in his 40s. By the way, count the guys who are 38 and over at heavyweight. Right? Vladimir Klitschko's in his 40s. If a guy like Adonis Stevenson could get out of the second round against Shannon Briggs, somebody explain to me how Briggs is even going to catch up with Stevenson. Let me also say this too, and I've mentioned it in too many videos. Tony Bellew right now is up at heavyweight. Folks, he got stopped by Adonis Stevenson. Stopped by him. Right? The human head can only take so much. Some of these guys can punch. Some of these guys are sudden. Weight's not the only dynamic in determining winners in boxing. Right? Many of the big bad wolves in history, Jack Dempsey, Rocky Marciano, fought at heavyweight, right? Think about it, while weighing less than 200 pounds. Right? Archie Moore, the old mongoose, light heavyweight champ, Hall of Famer, right? And keep in mind, this is before we had a cruiserweight division. Knocked down Rocky Marciano. Think about it. Right? He did better against Rocky, quite frankly, than Big Bad Joe Louis. Let me also point out, too, that Ezzard Charles, think about it, heavyweight champion. He was actually more dominant as a light heavyweight. Right? He killed a man at light heavyweight in a boxing match. So then they claim he ventures up to heavyweight. He wanted to fight bigger competition. Right? There's a history. There's a history of light heavies going up to heavyweight and being successful. Let me just point out that Ezzard Charles beat Joe Louis. Track down that film. Anyway, let me hear from you. Please know the history to the boxing press. Please find James Toney. Talk to him. I mean, he's lived it. Talk to him about fighting at middleweight and fighting for the heavyweight title. Right? Find Roy Jones. Roy Jones, believe it or not, actually had a career before he was a boxing announcer. Find Roy Jones and talk to him about the different weight classes. Right? Understand, in the Ward video, I was talking about Ward doing a one-off. Right? He goes to the heavyweight division. He picks a target, a big target, someone with a title preferably, has the fight, you know, gets the accolade, and then decides what he wants to do. As I said, Michael Spinks beats Larry Holmes the first time, fights him again. Fights a mandatory, then fights Jerry Cooney. This was a dude sticking around at heavyweight. Right? Food for thought. It might sound preposterous, completely silly, to people who don't know that it's happened time and time again in boxing history. Which one of us is ignoring history? Let me hear from you. I hope you leave your comments in the comment section to this video. Thanks for stopping by.